Is the 1ZPresso JX Pro the budget Kinu Slayer you're looking for? Well, let's find out together in this long-term review of this grinder. So I've been using the JX Pro daily for a few months now. I've been using it every day to brew filter coffee. And what I can say is the build quality is very solid. What I really like about this grinder's build quality is the all stainless steel construction. It feels very solid in the hand, has a good heft to it, and you know it's going to last you quite a long time. My second favorite feature about this grinder is this knob. So the knob, unlike the Kinu, which was made out of plastic, this one is made of wood, and it has a great tactility to the hand, and it's very well sized for grip. And finally, the inclusion of a silicone band, which is interesting, is also great for grip. So it makes sure that when you're grinding coffee, especially denser, lighter roasts, that your hand doesn't slip while you're using the grinder, which is great. Although I do have some nitpicks about the overall build quality of the grinder, but we'll touch on that later. Now let's talk about the workflow on the JX Pro. So the workflow on the grinder is very standard compared to what you can find in today's marketplace. In that you have a lid that you remove, and then that opens up into the hopper where you load your beans into. You have a grinds catch cup which screws into place like so. So it's a very standard kind of workflow, right? But what makes the grinder stand out in today's marketplace, in my opinion, is the grind size adjustment mechanism, because it has a grind size adjustment mechanism that does not need to be locked or unlocked like the Kinu. So you can get right into it and make an adjustment right away. And when you do make an adjustment, the great thing is there's this very audible and tactile clicking sound it makes, like so. It's very, very satisfying to use. That, accompanied with a very legible font, means that there is no second guessing yourself when you do make a grind size adjustment. What I would like to stress regarding the JX Pro's workflow is that it is both easier to use and faster than the Kinu M47. When I say easier, it means when you're grinding really light, dense roasts, I only need to input a moderate amount of effort to turn the grinder and to grind the coffee. Whereas with the Kinu M47, I have to hold it, with a kind of like a death grip, and then put in a considerable amount of effort when grinding coffee. And that's not something we can quantify, but you have to take my word for it. And on the other hand, it's faster. Now this we can quantify, right? So with a 13 to 15 gram dose, my standard, I only need around 30 seconds to grind with this. Whereas with the Kinu, I'm averaging around 40 to 45 seconds. And that's a pretty big difference when we're talking about using something every single day. And for these two aspects, those would be such a major win for the JX Pro. So that's really interesting. We have this grinder, which is around $160 US. And then on the other hand, we have the Kinu M47 Classic, which I did a long-term review on, and you can check it out. And that's retailing for around $380 US. So, which makes the better filter coffee? Well, interestingly, the style of filter coffee that they make is actually pretty different. So the JX Pro, gives you an experience that is very crisp and very clear. It emphasizes the coffee's unique flavor characteristics. But on the other hand, if you are not a fan of acidity in your coffee, then certain coffees that are inherently bright will turn out maybe a touch too tart for you. Whereas on the other hand, the Kinu M47 adds a layer of texture and body and creaminess to the cup, which nicely rounds out and gives a kind of warm and comforting experience at the expense of some flavor clarity. So it will be up to you to decide what kind of experience you like in your coffee. Alright, so now let's move on to the nitpicks I have with the JX Pro. Of course, not all products are perfect, and That's definitely the case with this grinder. So although it does perform very, very well, there are some build quality issues or workflow issues I have with the grinder. And the first part is because of the way the hopper is shaped, right? So when you put beans in, beans get stuck in some weird places. And what you have to do when that happens is you have to kind of shake the grinder like this so the beans fall into place where it's supposed to go. Then you can start grinding. So that's pretty annoying. Another annoying aspect of the grinder is the silicone sleeve. So while the silicone sleeve does serve its purpose of adding grip and tactility, as we all need when hand grinding, the problem is it kind of shifts around, you see? Kind of moves around. So most of the time, this doesn't happen. But when you're grinding very dense, light roast coffee, it does happen, right? So when you're moving like this, the sleeve wants to rotate with your motion. And you know, it's not a major problem, but it's kind of annoying. It's not the most comfortable sensation. Another complaint that I have is the grind's catch cup makes a squeaking noise when you use it. Do you hear this? So, right, it's not the most refined and pleasing sound. Among all the things that I've mentioned, what really irks me the most is the disassembly process, right? So when the time comes that you have to disassemble the grinder, give it your regular maintenance cleaning, it's really not that easy to take it apart, right? So in that respect, the Kinu, the Hero S01, the Timimor C2, they're all a lot easier and very intuitive to disassemble and reassemble. So much so that you don't even need to consult a manual for, right? But with this, I had to watch a YouTube video, I had to seek out the manual in order to find out how does everything fit in together. Because what I've realized is to be able to achieve this no-lock, beautiful mechanism for the grind size adjustment, they need to use finely machined little intricate parts stacked on top of each other, and you need to know how they're stacked together in order to reassemble them. And while that's not like the end of the world, right? When you're making a buying decision for this grinder, it is worthy to consider because then it takes some knowledge and some practice for you to properly disassemble and assemble and care for that matter. The final thing I dislike about the JX Pro is its appearance. For me, it has this very generic, industrial kind of style to it, and I'm not really a big fan of it. And to me, actually, the most distinctive style element or design element of the grinder is this huge black-gray silicone band with a lot of tacky 1ZPresso branding to it. And to me, you know, if that's gonna be the star of the show, then why is it silicone and why is it like this kind of cheap material? So I think in terms of the appearances or the looks of the grinder, it's not so handsome. It's not a thing that you wanna ogle at and say, wow, it's beautiful. No, it's kind of boring. So it's time for us to answer the question we posed at the very start of this episode. Is the JX Pro a budget Kinu slayer? The answer is, it depends. It depends on what you're looking for personally. So if you want to spend as little money as possible for a grinder that performs very, very well, and you want something that will last, right? That has really good build quality, then yes, it is a budget Kinu slayer. But if you're looking for a grinder that is built to last, it's easy to use, easy to disassemble, and really, I can't emphasize this enough, built like a tank, right? With a seamless single piece of stainless steel, then no, right? This thing can't replace the Kinu M47 in terms of build. And also, if you want, again, like we said previously, a grinder that has a certain style of filter coffee that adds more body and sweetness to it, then you really want to look into the Kinu series. So that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. Please do us a favor and like and subscribe if you liked this episode and found it helpful. And please follow us on our socials. Thank you for watching and see you next time.